Hello and welcome. This is an 8th grade math video all around comparing and sequencing integers. So just to remind you what an integer is a positive or a negative whole number. So an example of an integer might be -5 or 6. Those are integers. So if we're comparing those, what we're comparing is which one is greater than the other one. So if you're comparing two integers and you have a negative number and a positive number, then the positive number is always going to be bigger. So I'm going to kind of just use a number line to demonstrate, because we know that as you move this way on a number line, your numbers get bigger. So I put 0 right in the middle so we could talk about these two numbers that we have. -5 is going to be on this side of the number line in the negative section, maybe right about here. And +6 is going to be somewhere on the positive side over here. So if we kind of just drop those in a rough placement of where they would be on the number line, we can see that 6 is farther along the number line over this way than -5 is, making it the greater number. So we're going to open that sign to the greater number and say that -5 is less than 6. But what changes things is if we are dealing with two negatives. So now if we still have 0 in the middle and we're comparing -5 to -6, they both end up somewhere over here in the negative side of the number line. So let's say we put -5 here and maybe -6 here. So once we place them, you can see that -5 is actually greater, which is weird to say because we're used to bigger numbers representing bigger amounts. But even though 6 is bigger than 5 in most cases, because it's a -6 and a -5, it really becomes more about the distance from 0. So since -6 is farther away from 0 on the negative side than -5, which is closer to 0, is actually the greater amount. Okay, so let's do some practice problems with this. We're going to compare the integers and decide which one is the greatest one, -9 or 4. So this one's a little bit on the easier side because we have one positive and one negative. And if that's the case, the positive one is always going to be greater. So I'm going to think that 4 is greater than -9, or -9 is less than 4. But let's go ahead and lay out a number line just to see. So we'd have 0 right here in the middle. -9 is going to be somewhere on this side of the number line, maybe over here. And then +4 is going to be somewhere on this side of the number line in the positive side. So since that rough draft of where they are, and of course this is not drawn too accurately because we don't need it to be, but 4 is definitely further along the number line in the positive zone than -9 is. So yes, -9 is less than 4. Now we're going to be comparing these two integers. Which one is greatest, -10 or -7? Okay, so let me go ahead and draw a number line here. Since they are both negative, it becomes about which one is further away from 0. So I'm going to go ahead and put 0 over here since we don't need any positive numbers for this one. -10 would be about 10 units on the negative side away from 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's put it right there. And if I use the same number line to place the 7, I'd start at 0 and go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And put -7 right about there. So since -7 is closer to 0, that makes it the greater number. So -10 is less than -7. Okay, so here's our next practice problem. We're comparing which one is greater, -20 or -83. So let me go ahead and again, make that number line. They're both negative. So again, it's all about which one is further away from 0. I'm going to put 0 over here. And I don't even have to count the units for this one. I'm just going to go ahead and put -20 here and -83 somewhere down here. So that means that -20 is actually greater because it is closer to 0 than -83. So that means -20 is greater than -83. Okay, here's our next one. We're going to compare these two integers to decide which one is the greatest. Again, we have two negatives, so we have to decide which of those is further from 0. So I'm going to go ahead and make my number line and put 0 all the way over here since we don't need any positive numbers. Negative 71, let's just go ahead and place that down here. But negative 54 would be a little bit closer to 0 than negative 71, because when we're in the negative zone, all the numbers work backwards. Same sequence, just backwards. So that means negative 54 is closer to 0 than negative 71 and is the greater number. Negative 71 is less than negative 54. Okay, here's our last one for today. We're going to put these integers in order from least to greatest. Least to greatest. So that means the smallest number is going to be over here, and the greatest number is going to be over here. And what I could do is I can make a number line between the two, just to kind of give myself a visual reference if I wanted to. So we have a positive and two negatives. Well, that means we know the positive number, since it's the only positive number, is the greatest compared to the two negatives. So I'm going to go ahead and put 21 over here. Now we just need to decide which of those negatives is the smallest and which one would go in the middle. So I'm going to put 0 over here because we already know 21 in the positive zone is past that. Negative 89, let's go ahead and just place down here. Negative 89 and negative 15 would be somewhere about here. So we can see that negative 15 is a lot closer to 0 than negative 89, making negative 89 the smallest number and negative 15 right in the middle. So our order going from least to greatest would be negative 89 as the least, negative 15 is the middle, and then the greatest as 21. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.